Hey guys, Mike B. Rowland here again. I had a good question about what company drivers should carry with them as kind of a basic startup in their truck with them. And I just sat here and kind of made out a list of all the things I have in my truck. And if I were driving someone else's truck, I'd have the same things. So, start out with a basic toolkit. Uh, just your standard, kind of a smaller toolbox. It's got your pliers, your Phillips regular screwdriver, Torx bit. You're going to want all the Torx bit sets, especially like the T25. A lot of your Freightliners or whatever, everything's Torx bit. But just a basic. Your wrenches, 3/8 or 5/16, quarter inch. Yeah, say quarter inch through 3/4 inch is going to be kind of your standard kit. Uh, uh, Standard and metric wrenches. Your I don't even know how low they go now. I think they start at 7, 8 millimeter. And they go upwards of 18 millimeters, something like that. But hammer, a good chisel. Hammer and chisel. You got something wedged or stuck somewhere it shouldn't be, and you need to free it to get down the road. Hammer and chisel. Just a basic tool kit. Electrical kit. You're going to have rubbed wires, pinched wires. Corroded tips coming off of wires, just a basic kit with butt connectors and some extra little spools of wire, a little propane torch. But if I'd carry the big propane torch for like thawing out frozen brake shoes to drums, or your air valves when they get frozen in the wintertime. You don't get too close, but hold it maybe 10 inches away from it and just let that heat slowly heat that air valve up and watch them brakes just you get little chunks of ice in them little valves there, and you don't want to melt the rubber, but you want to heat it up just enough to melt the ice. So just don't get too close to it. But that torch can also be used for if you're going to buy butt connectors, get the good ones that have the shrink tube built into the butt connector. So when you're done crimping, you can heat it with the torch and it shrinks right down on that wire. And if you go back and look at way back at the beginning of the channel, I did a repair on some taillights, and you kind of see my brake kit there, or my electrical kit, what I got going there. It's in like one of the bump board. Yeah, if I can get it to hold still, I'm kind of willy-nilly in this here. But yeah, you'll see the basic idea of what I have in my toolkit or my electrical kit. Oil and antifreeze. I always carry at least, of course, I run an older engine, so I carry at least 2 gallons of oil. But even in these newer trucks, carry at least 1 gallon of oil. I don't know how much sidebox space you're going to have, but if you set it up, organize it correctly, you should be able to have at least 2 gallons of oil, 2 gallons of antifreeze. Your fuel treatment. You don't. A lot of guys, most stations nowadays treat their fuel when they put it in, especially from like November clear up until March or whatever. They'll dope their fuel as they put it in the ground. But when I say fuel treatment, what I'm talking about is specifically diesel 911. You get into a -2 degree scenario and your fuel starts gelling up, your truck's losing power. As soon as you start noticing a decrease in power, you open up that bottle of 911, dump it in both fuel tanks, and just let your truck sit there and idle for about 10 minutes, and it'll just melt that gel right out of your fuel filters, keep you going. That's a must in the wintertime. 911, I swear by it. I've been doing that for 30 freaking years. It's good stuff. Jumper cables. Get you a good set of like 8 gauge, the big heavy duty jumper cables, 20 footers. You're going to spend a little bit more money on them, but you got to be able to reach from one truck over to another truck. Or actually, I used to pull a reefer delivering groceries, and there was a time where my truck alternator had gone out, and pulling a reefer, hey, I had 2 sets of jumper cables in my truck. I actually stopped at I had 1 set of 20 footers, and I actually stopped at before it got dark, I stopped at I don't even remember what it was, an O'Reilly's or a Napa or something, and I bought another set of jumper cables. And I actually hooked up to the alternator on the reefer with jumper cables, and then doubled the jumper cables together and duct taped the ends together and ran them from my reefer down the side of my truck to my batteries and connected them. And my reefer charged my batteries as my truck drove me home. Just little tricks like that. It worked. It wasn't legal. Everything was taped up and tied off. Wasn't nothing illegal about it. But jumper cables, extra light bulbs. Your headlights are going to be like your H7s or whatever. But I would carry at least 1 extra. Then you got depending on what equipment you're pulling, you're going to have different types of bulbs all over. If you've got the little like 194 push-in bulbs for clearance lights or whatever, just have you a few of those. If your trailer's running the 2-inch or 2.5-inch, the seal beam LED, have you a couple of those. And also I put on here pigtails, which is your 3-prong plug that goes into that LED for running, or, some of them are 2-prong, some of them are 3-prong. I would have both. Your trailer's probably only going to have 2 prongs, but if it has the capability of being a turn signal, it'll have that 3rd prong on there. But extra light bulbs and pigtails, can't go wrong, man. Can't go wrong. Then of course your standard safety stuff. You're going to have hard hat, high visibility vest, gloves. Carry 2 pairs of gloves. Have you one old leather work gloves or oil change, checking your oil, checking your fluids, doing dirty jobs, and then have a second set of work gloves for unloading the trailer, dropping the trailer, whatever. That way you're not getting oil all over everything. I always carry, I actually have like 4 sets of gloves, because sometimes I'm unloading and unloading on a rainy day, and this set's wet. Throw it over there on the floor and grab the next set, and by the end of the day I'll have 3 or 4 sets of gloves that are all wet. By the next day, or the time I'm ready to unload, or I'm running the air on the floor drying the gloves out, by the time I'm ready to use them again, I go back to set number 1, they're dry again. So I carry 4 sets of gloves. Safety glasses, dark and clear. Some of these, if you're unloading at a place that's outside, use your I got a pair laying over there, you can't see them, but they're just generic dark tinted sunglass style safety glasses, and then a pair of clear ones if you're in a dark building unloading or whatever. Coveralls. Get you a good old set of coveralls, about 2 sizes too big for you, so they're nice and loose, and you can crawl on the ground and roll up under your truck and see, this. You can show your company's mechanic or whatever. See that leak right there? You've crawled up under the truck. Get you a pair of coveralls, man. I'm telling you, you may not use them very often, but when you do need them, whew. Mud boots. You're going to find yourself in a situation where you got to get out in a muddy, gravel, nasty parking lot. You don't want to track that crap in your truck. Have a pair of mud boots you can pop on. Do what you got to do, and then pop those off and either lay them on the floor or just have you. A lot of guys will put like a cardboard box on their floor over by their shifter, and when they're getting out of their truck in a muddy parking lot, they got like mud boot slip-ons that they'll put on, or a separate pair of mud boots. And then they'll climb up into their truck and take their shoes off, put mud shoes over in the cardboard, and then put their regular shoes back on and drive away. Keeps the interior of your truck a lot cleaner. But that's just the basics of what I would carry just to get started. Ask your company how they feel about, the electrical kit. Are they okay? Are they cool with you fixing a broken wire? You got a light out going down the road out in the middle of nowhere. Do you mind if I go ahead and do that to save us all a lot of trouble? And they may just want you to make note of it, so when you get back to their terminal, they can, inspect the work and make sure it's, done to their satisfaction. But the basic toolkit, once again, ask them before you start working on their equipment. Are you cool with me fixing this? I can get it on down the road. If, I got what I need, as long as you're okay with it, because if you're trying to fix something and you break something else, you might get in trouble unless they knew you were doing it. So always check with your company before you do that. But, and then of course, owner operators, this list could go about 3 times longer. Just much more in depth. Owner operator, extra. I carry 2 light bulbs. When one blows, the other one's not far behind it. I ain't screwing around. If one blows, replace them both. If a light on the trailer starting to, like I got one right now that the forklift guy unloaded me last week. He bumped the side of my rail and it pushed my light in, and it ruined the bulb and the rubber grommet. So I carry a complete kits, the pigtails, the rubber grommet, the 2-inch bulb, the whole 9 yards, and I'll replace everything but the pigtail. But unless it's corroded, then I'll replace that too. But I carry, of my trailer lights, my trailer runs the 2-inch style. I carry 4 of those. The big 4-inch red, I carry 2 of those. The old ones that I pulled out, you saw in that earlier video back in the beginning of the channel, I put those in the side box. So as these new ones burn out, maybe 2 years from now, I don't know. But if they burn out, I know I've got at least 2 replacement bulbs in the truck ready to go. It just, because light bulbs is very important, because that's one of the first things DOT, if they're looking for any reason they can to pull you over. So if you're not speeding, you got 1 bulb out on your trailer, that's all they need, pull you over. Well, while I got you here, let me go ahead and check your paperwork and this and that and the other and give you a rectal exam and, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, just don't give them a reason to pull you over. It's legalized extortion. There are a bunch of freaking vultures out there trying to raise revenue, and you do not want to feed the bears. But yeah, it's just a quick video on what I carry in my truck, and you know, you can add to that, subtract from it, whatever you think you need, but that'll give you a good starting point. As always, guys, like, share, subscribe. You know the deal. We'll catch you later.